On this week's episode, I try to take flight onto my next chapter. Y'all want to meet Jerry? This is Jerry. I'm gonna cut in. I'm just gonna sort of cut away and create an opening here. Just make that a bit squarer. I'm gonna start welding it now so it's actually nice and square. The shells in the kiln are nice and toasty. The furnace is almost up to temperature. What's up, gang, and welcome to this episode. On the last episode, you had seen me apply the 20mm threaded bar to the Angel's shoulders to give the wings some integral strength, because the last thing we wanted was the wings to just they want to naturally bend outwards because they're so bloody heavy. So what we've done is we've given it some internal strength, welded 20mm steel. But yesterday, me and Tom, we tacked together all the different sections of the wings of this amazing Angel, and it's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. Each wing is 4 pieces each. Now, today what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna clean up all the rest of the shell and bits that are in the actual wings. But as you can see, all the sections are just tacked. And now my job is to weld up each seam line and then start grinding back those welds and blending in all the feathers and just bringing back that detail, getting rid of any sort of discrepancies or any bits that are meant to be there, that aren't meant to be there, sorry, and just sort of grind it all back. 1 minute. The wings are actually going to go fully polished, and then the Angel itself is going to go a traditional bronze. So that being said, I'm going to get the welder out and I'm going to start welding up all of the seam lines. So gang, as you can see behind here, we had these panels. Tom cut these panels out of this section and this section so that inside here we could weld all of the thread in place. And so what we've done is we cut it out and just bashed it back in. We've welded up, well, Tom's welded up the panel back in, and now it's a case of just grinding this away and making it look like it never happened. God diggity dang. That's what we like. That's one section welded. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is what I call solid.
Nothing left to say, it's time for me to move along. No time to waste on proving everybody wrong. I know that I'd be fine if I just let it out, but I can't open up without bringing everybody down. My body's doing fine, yeah, but my soul is at a time.
So gang, what I've done now is, like you see, I've welded up all of these feathers. And I hope that my welding isn't that bad, that it doesn't fall off. But it does look pretty solid, it feels pretty solid. So the trick now is to get rid of this bead. Excuse the bird poo welding, but it's a very choppy piece, and so trying to get a real nice bead was proven to be quite difficult. It's better down there. I mean, I'm pleased with it. I'm going to grind it back now and show you how I get rid of that bead, because, well, quite frankly, it looks hideous there. Grind! Right, safety first. Safety precautions. Grinders are noisy. Headset on. I've misplaced my other stuff. Grinders produce metal flakes. Eye protection on. Check. Lisa, do you wear eye protection? Gotta wear eye protection, Lisa. Yeah, I always wear eye protection. And it's also very fine, Dusty. So mask on. Safety first. So gang, look, as we've done here, we've just ground back the welds roughly. I just wanted to get the welds down. I've still got a bit to do up the top here on these top 4 feathers, but down here I've just roughly ground them back, got them flush with the opposite sides of the sculpture. Now what I would like to do now is I'll just get the wire wheel on the grinding pad and just make it all one colour, because then it softens everything off. It takes away the harshness of the facets that have been created by the grinding disc. And then once I've done that, I can go over with the surface conditioning pad, really give it a nice softness, and then we'll go over with the chasing chisels and put in those lovely textures which these wings have. They've got these lovely lines, pits, a sort of clay-like texture, and once that's all polished up, that will just disappear, and then we will be completo finito. What I like to do is I like to use this little puppy. This used to be an old router, and it's been converted by, well, Ian Edwards. So Ian, if you're watching, you can't have it back. Anyway, just gonna plug this in. Whoop. Whoop. And what we'll do is this. I like to use this because it's got like an old blunt burr on it, so it doesn't eat away material as much as it should do or when it was fresh. So what I like is just to give it a lovely soft pitted sort of texture, because as you can see in here it's a lot of pitted textures, and this will just help us coax those textures along. There's a few lines in here which we can put in as well, but it's mainly got these sort of like pitted sort of clay textures in there. So I'm just going to pop this on, lightly go over it all. So the one thing with fettling is that it's all about layers, because if you were to just leave it at this grind here, it would just look terrible. If you were to leave it with just the sort of marks that you've put in, it would look terrible. But the combination of them all combined actually makes up of a really nice surface. And then when you finally wire brushed it all back and give it a surface conditioning pad, it all blends in and it looks supreme. To put in all the different textures and I can't hear myself think with these on. So to put in all the different textures, this is what we call chasing. You're chasing the metal and you're using your chasing chisels and a hammer, and this bit takes quite a long time, but it is worth it once you've seen the final result. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go over it with this chasing chisel and hammer, and I'm just going to beat in some of these lovely textures which you can see before you on these other parts of the sculpture, And then, like I say, the combination with this, the grinding, the surface conditioning, they're all vital components and processes to get the final result. Put this on. So gang, now I've spent quite a lot of time just going over the welds with different textures and surface conditioning pads. As you can see, I've still got quite a way to go. And as I've got all these different weld lines, this is going to take a fair few days worth of finishing. So I just wanted to show you what we could achieve in this very short time that we were able to film on these sort of little welds here. But I still, like I said, still got quite a way to go to bring this texture all back in and make it look really natural and smooth and just sort of blend in with one another. But while I get on with that over the next couple of days, I'm gonna just patinate a small little bronze in the meantime, which is this one over here. This is the little resting juggler, little hair. Still got a little bit of cleaning up to do, but this one's going a traditional bronze with then a verdigris on top, so it looks like the rain has fallen and it's gone, it's just sort of aged over time and the patina looks all worn and authentic, but he's gonna have a lovely sort of earthy verdigris sort of going from the tops of the ears and trickling down his face, so it looks like the rain's hit and bounced off. That's the sort of patina that she likes, so let's clean this up a little bit and get a colour in. Gas, fire, ignite. So now we've got this lovely little hair by Claire Trenchard all perched up on his vise. I've just gone over him with a dark wash, but I'm going to heat him up now to a little bit of a temperature. And then I'm going to go over and I'm going to stipple on some darks because he needs a dark base for the verdigris to then stand out on the dark background. So we're going to get him nice and dark, then apply the verdigris. As you can see, now I'm just applying a bit of ferric nitrate, which just brings in that lovely warmth colour. I've gone over with the dark and I've rubbed it back to bring the bronze through, and now I'm going over with the ferric, as I said, bringing through that lovely warmth. I'm just going to keep applying layers, rubbing it back, applying layers, just to bring in that lovely softness, and then I'll go over with the verdigris, and then it's going to look like it's been rained on. Got some dioxides up here, and I'm going, well, I mixed up a verdigris, which is like a earthy, sort of browny green, which is what this customer likes. And then obviously once it dries, it goes a little bit lighter, but we've mixed up blue, green, white, and a dash of brown, and I've mixed that up, watered it down, and I'm just gonna add layers and build up the depth, because you don't just wanna add it straight on and leave it, because otherwise it looks very painted. You kind of want it to look like it's been left outside for a while. So we're going to try our best to give it that sort of authentic look, as if it's been rained on and left to weather. So gang, now I've gone over it with a little bit of verdigris. It looks a little bit flat, so I'm going to let that cool down. I'm going to cover it in a matte lacquer, Then I'm going to go over it then with a brown dark wash to just sort of pick out all of the contrast and all the nooks and crannies. And then after that, I'm going to stipple it over with a little bit more verdigris. And then after that, it's just a case of waxing, baby. So now I've let it cool down and I've covered it in a matte lacquer. I've got some brown dioxide and I'm just going over it with a light wash. What looks like a cold blue, I've gone over with a brown wash and it's brung out this lovely earthy green, which is what we're looking for. So I'm just going over it quite lightly and then I'm rubbing it back, revealing that warmth. And then hopefully, once I've waxed it, it's gonna look creme fraiche. So gang, now I've gone over with a dark wash. A dark wash. I'm gonna light up my fire, if I can find. Whew, that on. Man with many pockets loses his fire lighter. 6 hours later. Mother trucker! Flo, have you got a lighter? So going in with just a little bit of heat. Drying that off. Now you can see there's a lot of variety going on in there, which is what we're after. We don't want it to just be one colour. We don't want it to just be like a one-stop colour. So we want it to have like a dark green, light green, a bit of verdigris, that lovely earthy verdigris that she's longing for. And actually, I think it's coming together quite nicely. Some darks in there. It looks like it's rained and it's just gone all, the reactions happened and it's dripped down the shoulder onto the hand there. If you get it, oh, the sunshine's come out just at the right time. And that's looking absolutely divine. So I'm just gonna heat it up now and then I'm gonna go over the tops with just a little bit more verdigris and then we're ready to wax, ladies and gentlemen. So gang, over the last week has been absolutely mental. We had a new guy start and we've cast more bronze than we've ever done before, which I'm super pleased about. It just proves that we're progressing and getting stronger and more competent and, you know, just reassuring myself that we can do this. And it's, you know, what seems like a lot of hard work and climbing uphill without a paddle. When you get to the stages like this and you see what you've done, it's all worth it. But we've just, I mean, yesterday I welded up this piece in sections and as you can see, each section was cast separately and then obviously what you've just seen me doing on the angel wing was getting rid of all these weld lines, which is where the skill comes in. You've got all the fettling and the chasing. No, let me rephrase that. The skill doesn't come in there. There's skill from start to finish, but this is the section that takes the most time. This is the section where if you don't do this properly, like all the other processes, look, mold making, if you do a bad mold, you get a bad cast. If you do a bad wax cast, you get a bad cast, bronze cast. And if you get a bad bronze cast, then there's a hell of a lot of metal work that needs doing. The least metal work you can do basically tells you had a really good wax and that everything went really well before the welding and the grinding and the finishing. Don't get me wrong, you know, there is a little bit, I mean, the angles of everything is critical. When the sculptor comes in and they check their work out and they think that something's not quite right, you then have to cut and reposition, redo, and it's just an absolute pain in the backside. So the thing to do is to take lots of photos when the work comes in and then you can then see and refer to as reference what the angles are meant to be. And so pieces like this, or if you've got the original hard master as well to hand, which thankfully we have the original wooden piece, which is in the back room over there, and we were able to see and put them side by side and check out the angles. We've got these amazing little wolves here, the little wolf pack by Claire Trenchard. They've just come off the runners and risers, so we've just bashed all the shell off, and these have come out beautifully well. They're very lovely tactile pieces, and they actually go on a lovely long textured base, which is in sections here. And you know, people are gonna, when they get stuff cast for the first time and you've got to cut it up into sections, and it just, people are like, what are you doing to my work? But actually it's fine. It's, you know, you just you cut it up, you weld it together, you blend it in. That's what we do. And then you come over to this lovely Stingray, which weighs an absolute ton. This beautiful Stingray, which was cast in 2 sections. And yesterday I did what we call skinning. So I basically took the very top layer off with a surface conditioning pad, not losing any form, refining all these edges to a nice fine point, because when you pour, sometimes there'd be a crack in the shell investment and bronze would seep through, not protruding the shell, just seeping through, which will give you a bit of flashing. And so we grind this back, make it nice and crisp, polish it all up, and hey presto, he still needs a lot of work, he still needs a lot of polishing, but I would like to get him finished and patinaed next week. And this, ladies and gents, is a little dog, which I thought I'd show you after the show and after it's been poured. This is our running system. So you've got your vents, your gates, and your main cup, and then your pattern in the center, which is the bit that you actually want. And from here, we'll knock the shell off, as you can see. We'll cut the runners off, we'll blast all the shell in the sandblaster, and then we'll basically make this nice and clean, ready to do all the different stages that I've just taken you through. So this is what we've been doing this week. Plus, over here is just a pallet full of shells that need to be put into the de-waxing kiln. So I've made some slits in the shells so that when the wax then goes in the kiln and the wax gets hot, it has somewhere to travel other than making a crack into the surface of the shell. And I've also, as you can see, covered these big ones in like a quadrilaxal matting, which then extra belt and braces holds the shell together, because this is about a 45 kilo pour. And so when you're pouring something of that magnitude into a shell that hopefully would hold it, you don't want it popping. So extra belt and braces never goes amiss, because you don't want to have to redo these again. So they go from this stage into the kiln, then they finally turn into this stage, which is hollow. So these shells are hollow, the wax has disappeared, and you're left with basically a hollow inside, and then these then go into the kiln. When they're ready to be poured, they get nice and hot, and as you know, we put the furnace on, get that nice and poured. But at this stage, you've got to go around, just check out what any sort of hairline cracks that may appear, and if there are any, you just patch them up with some fire cement, whack them in the kiln, cure them, they'd be good to go. Then outside, you all saw that Lucas and Vera were making these molds for the trees in the last episode, and what we've got is just all these molds now, all this silicone which has come out of the jacket. The jackets are being all trimmed up, and they're going to get all sanded back, sanded at the top there, so they're nice to handle, because the last thing you want is that when you're actually molding something and you're casting, you don't want to get splinters, because fiberglass splinters, they're absolute nightmare. You can't find them, they're in there for days, you don't know they're there until you're eating your dinner, and then yeah, you're just in pain. But yeah, we've got the silicone all nice and ready, they're trimming it all up. I'm going to get it all ready for casting tomorrow. So that, ladies and gents, is what we've been up to this week. It's been an absolute blinder of a week. And then blah, blah. What's up, gang? Thanks for watching today's episode. I believe we've got like another 2 or 3 episodes in us to get this angel finished. We've still got a lot of welding to do. We've still got a lot of fettling to do. We've got to make sure that we spend the time to get those details right. So if you like this episode and you want to see this angel finished, then tune in next time. Feathers. And so, well, I'll start again.